Hi, cherries, and welcome to the fifth episode of the channel. I don't know about you, but it already feels so weird to me. I feel like I started yesterday, and here we are, episode 5. I hope you liked the last episode though, with our first guest. And next week, we're having another guest coming all the way from Turkey. And the topic that we're gonna discuss is probably the most emotional and heartbreaking topic we've ever had in the channel. So stay tuned. Today, as you already see the title of the video, we are gonna be talking about what life was, is, and will be as a writer. I've never liked writing to begin with, and I even hated reading. And I'm saying this because I know they go hand in hand, which is something I realized later in life. I've always been an emotional child, a very, very emotional and sensitive child. And growing up was kind of hard. I could never find the right way to express what I felt, and I could never express it with words, at least not spoken out loud. I loved arts, and I used to draw every single day when I was a kid. Something that I still do, but not so often because I don't really have the time. I love listening to music and singing and dancing, and so I guess that was kind of the ways I used to express some of the feelings I had before. But growing up, it became harder and harder to express those feelings. And so I was 16, deeply in love with the wrong person, barely knowing myself. And I'm not gonna lie, it took me years to understand and accept who I was. It was really hard. But finally, when I did, I let my feelings walk around and I let them control my hands and my mind and my heart. And there I was, sitting at the desk, writing him letters, one after one. But love is not always mutual, and this is something I found out the hardest way. I was broken, shattered. I stopped writing for a while, but I had more and more feelings to express, so I decided to write a book. I was almost 17 at that time, and I almost had seen the end of that book when one day, completely hopeless and disappointed by the world, I just sat down, opened my laptop, and pressed the button delete. 217 pages. Just gone. Forever. Did I regret that? Absolutely. I still do. Because no matter if it was good or bad, it could have always been edited and fixed. I just thought it was stupid. I thought no one would ever even read it, and I saw that everyone was making fun of me, and that was just breaking me. And so I let them drag me down for the first and last time. When I was 18, I got in university, and it was great in the beginning. Partying every night, drinking, dancing, talking till 4 a.m. But it was all a freshman illusion. I was 19. It was June when I went to the USA for the first time in my life. I was very excited. I really loved it there. The job, the people, the place, everything. A month later, I met someone I thought was special, at least back then. And just a week later, I knew I was falling in love. 3 years passed since I last had feelings for someone, and to be honest, I was afraid to let them out, but once I did, I was happy because this time was mutual. We got together and everything was perfect. At least it seemed that way. But in September, I had to go back to Bulgaria. I thought it wasn't goodbye, but just a see you soon kind of thing. Then a month later, I realized that something was wrong with me, and life was trying to show me something, teach me something new. I felt sad all the time. I was crying. I was super anxious, and I started getting panic attacks, which was something absolutely new for me. And I was scared, but most of the time I was unconscious to process any feelings. And then one day, he just dumped my ass carelessly. And so I was left with my own feelings trapped in my head, and it felt like forever. This was the moment I kind of slowed down, stopped, and thought, wow, what a great life I have. I've always been hurt. I've always been betrayed, and I've never had real friends or a relationship. My parents have never been there for me. In fact, I've been molested for over 10 years. So why the fuck am I still alive? And what's the purpose of my life? What's my meaning? Why should I stay here right now? Why should I be still hurting? And so I went to my old habit. I started writing and writing and writing. I kept writing every day. I wrote about my past. I wrote about every single thing that my parents have done to me. I wrote about every single person who has affected me in a bad way in my life. I wrote about all the pain, all the struggles, and all the wounds, and all the scars that I'm still wearing. I wrote about all the love I was lacking. I wrote how much I wish someone loved me truly for me. I wrote how I wished I wasn't gay, how life would be much easier if I just liked girls. I wrote and wrote every single day. And so I was 20, and it was April when I first published my book, Reflection of Broken Glass. This is a book of childhood trauma, perfectionism, insecurities, love and loss, relationships, and how we grow through these painful experiences becoming adults. To be honest, I was never even thinking about writing a book. All I was writing was just how I felt and what I wished it was different. But one day I realized that I had written over 100 pages in less than a week, and that it would be a shame if the world didn't see it. In fact, I'm glad I did it because I see how many people go through that too, and knowing this gives them a little comfort and makes me feel better too. The process of publishing, though, was much harder than I expected, much harder than the writing itself. And I honestly thought that writing the book was the hardest part. Or maybe the publishing was the hardest part for me just because I have never had experienced it before. But basically, you need someone to edit your book, someone who is professional in writing it. Then you need people to read your book, which is also called peer reviewers. They have to be people who read a lot, not just people who know how to read. Then you need to find a person to make the cover of your book, and that takes a lot of time too, because you really have to explain what you want based on what you've written, because you can't make the artist read your whole book and therefore create a cover for your book based on that. Then it comes the part where the paperwork's my favorite. You need to get in touch with the National Agency of Publishing and ask them about the ISBN number of your book. You have to pay a tax, then they will register you as a potential future author. You have to fill up a few documents, send a few emails, and get a few emails back, and then send them back. And then after all this, you have to have all the files you need with the ISBN, with the cover, with the book itself. You have to make sure the book is edited fully and it has numbers and it's structured and everything, and then you just send it to a publishing house. You pay for it. The price pretty much depends on how many copies you get. And after 20 more days, bam, you finally have the books. And while waiting for the books to be printed out and delivered to me, I was promoting the book online everywhere possible. I created a website where I can sell my books, both as a physical copy and PDF, because I know some people prefer reading online. I also created posters for an outdoor event at my university where people can come by and get a book, get it signed, have some drinks and snacks, and pretty much talk to me about the book and how I wrote it and published it. All this was hard, but it was worth it after 4 months. And honestly, it was such a great experience that for my second book, I only needed a month to get it published. The second book I published in the beginning of December 2025 was a poetry book about all the different kinds of love that we experience, and as I love to say, we consume throughout our whole lives. I mean, some love stories last a lifetime, others leave us with memories, sweet or bitter, to carry forward, and some just vanish quietly, leaving behind nothing but crumbs. And that's where the name of the book comes as well, Crumbs of Love. And this book gathers these pieces together in verse, tracing the beauty, the pain, and the fragility of the heart in rhymes and free lines. These poems speak to anyone who has ever loved, lost, and still longed for love. I'm now working on a third project. I haven't really talked about it anywhere, so you will be the first ones to hear about it. It's called When Stars Turn into Ashes, and it's a poetry book about the bloom, the shatter, the burn, and the rise of one love story. I don't want to tell you more about it because I really want this to be my best book. I really want this to show that I have improved, and I want to show that I'm better at doing this. I want to leave you completely surprised with what you're gonna read. So, yeah, writing is a part of me right now, not only part of my life. I write every day, every night. Sometimes I even run out of the bathroom to write something I've thought about before I forget it. I write while drinking coffee with my friends. I write while it's raining. I write while it's sunny. I write while I'm eating. I'm writing all the time. And no, it's not exhausting. It's not tiring. It's not boring. It's who I am. And it's what makes me feel alive. And this is the life of a 21-year-old writer. Thank you for listening to me, cherries. Love you. Bye.